I'd just like to read one short piece before we get Joe back up. Now, I have already invented bush haiku, which is a completely new form of poetry, which removed the worst elements of both forms of poetry, bush poetry and haiku, and made it interesting. So, having already done that, and you can Google up bush haiku and you get stuff about George Bush. But you won't get things like my dad, for example, bush haiku, genius, didn't bloody realise it, right? 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables again. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Shut the fucking gate. Bush haiku. I've got a whole bunch of them. Anyway, I'm not going to do that now. But I have invented another form of poetry. Now, our good friend Scott Snedden from Brisbane sort of came up with the concept of maximalism, which is, you know, in counterpoint to minimalism, where you over-describe everything, you go completely over the top, you shout, right? So it's completely opposite to minimalism. What I've done is looked at these two concepts and thought, mini-mealism. You take a famous piece, you cut out 2/3 of it without altering the sequence of the words, and you must completely alter the meaning of the piece. And 2/3, you cut it down to about the size of mini-me. Okay? So, I mini-mealised that famous, iconic, mythic ode to Australian outback masculinity, the man from Snowy River. And I have mini-mealised it. Here we go. There at the station, past that old regret away, and the wild pound, the cracks fray, riders mustered overnight, bushmen love hard with delight. Harrison, his pile white as snow, his blood fairly up would go horse and man. Clancy at the overflow came, held the reins while the saddle girths would stand droving on the plains. One stripling weedy beast, thin like a racehorse undersized, touched a Timor pony's parts, as are by mountain horsemen prized. He was hard in his bright and fiery head. One would doubt his power to stay, do a tiring lad far too rough. So he waited, and Clancy, his friend, I think we ought to let him come, he said. I warrant he'll be wanted at the end for mountain. The man that holds his own is good enough. And the old man gave his orders. Boys, go the jump. No use for fancy riding now. And Clancy, ride boldly, lad, and never fear the spills. And he made the rangers ring with the stock whip while he swung the dreaded lash, saw well-loved full in view, and charged gorges deep and black. Upward, ever upward. Hold them. Clancy took a pull. It might well make the boldest hold their breath, but the man from Snowy River let the pony have head. And he swung his stock whip round and gave a cheer, while the others stood and watched in very fear. He was at them single-handed till their sides were white with foam. He followed like a bloodhound on their track till they, cowed and beaten, could scarcely raise a trot. And down by Kosciuszko, where the pine-clad ridges rise, their torn and rugged battlements on high, where the air is clear as crystal and the white stars fairly blaze at midnight in the cold and frosty sky, and where around the overflow the reed beds sweep and sway to the breezes, and the rolling plains are wide, the man from Snowy River is a household word today, and the stockmen tell the story of his ride.